Real Reddit stories. If you love wild things and crazy drama, hit that subscribe button and drop a like to help more people find the madness.
I found out my mom's perfect boyfriend was a convicted kiddie offender who filmed his crimes. When I confronted her, she laughed and said, "Those tapes paid for your braces." I didn't say a word. That was 3 weeks ago. Yesterday, she was dragged out of the house screaming, while my little brother cried in my arms. I thought my mom married a total badass. When I was 15, I had pretty much given up hope that I'd have a dad, or any reliable male role model for that matter. I was the son of a single mom archetype, overworked myself in school while maintaining 25 hours a week at a local job, took care of my younger brother Mikey while my mom was sick or at work. My biggest dream was to retire my mom so she'd never have to work again. But then it all came crashing down because my mom met a wonderful man named Troy. He was extremely kind, and after just a few months of dating, I finally stopped beating myself up for not being a perfect man of the house anymore. He's still the only reason why I know how to ride a bike, and Mikey loved him even more than I did. Troy taught him how to do math without making him cry, a skill I never learned, and even took the role of bringing him to school every day. Meanwhile, my mom's skin was glowing even more. She genuinely looked beautiful. It truly was the calm before the storm. As we got to know him, the picture-perfect thing faded. I found out he already had another family that he'd left, as well as a son who was around my age. But I loved him regardless, because what is family if not accepting each other's imperfections, right? Well, this ended up backfiring hard, because one day when I was in senior year studying for exams, I got a text on Facebook. It was from this guy claiming to be my half-brother. So I scoured his page and saw my dad, or I guess you could say our dad, had been in his profile picture at some point. After establishing our mutual biological connection, I found out he had an ulterior motive for texting me. He started off by asking me if I knew what kind of man our father was. I figured he was just salty that my dad left him for a hotter wife, so I replied saying, "More than you do, buddy." I was really immature back then, I know. Some part of me wanted his response to be something feisty, something I could argue with, but it wasn't. It was something much, much darker. He sent dozens of court documents. They were all about a man named Henry, who had been charged after stealing the innocence of his wife and his 5-year-old son. I figured that my half-brother was just as immature as me, so I didn't read much into it, and told him that he was an effing weirdo for sending me that shut. But as soon as I exited out of the court documents and read his text, my heart dropped. He said the words that changed my life forever, in the worst way possible. Henry is our dad's name, the one he changed to after prison. I fought the urge to throw up into the garbage can beside me. Needing to know more, I reread the documents. The timeline all added up. He had met my mother just 6 months after leaving prison, but that wasn't all. After he had been caught stealing their innocence, an investigation was launched. On his hard drive were dozens of footage of, well, you know, except it wasn't just from kiddie fiddling websites. They were home movies that he had made, with him and unclothed innocent beings crying out for help. That time, I couldn't hold back. I threw up onto the keyboard. This was the man my mom had brought into our lives? The man that was doting on Troy? I knew there was no way my mom knew, so I had to decide what to do with the information. But it was practically impossible to think straight. My head was spinning so hard, I thought the room had been turned upside down, and that's when I heard it. The door creaked open. I spun around in my chair and was faced with Henry looming over me and my computer screen. I knew there was no point fumbling to hide it. Plus, I was bigger than him, so it's not like he could have forced me to do anything like he had with my half-brother. His face went red. I swear, I've changed since then. Please. His eyes were filled with so much fake innocence. When I looked at his trembling hands, all I could picture was what he had done to those kids. What I had seen him do. I quickly exited out of all the tabs, got up, and knocked him to the floor. As he began to cry, I couldn't help but laugh. I still remember the sound of his ribs cracking under my boots. It was satisfying, like ASMR. But then I heard my mom come home. "Honey, I think my son is onto us," she yelled, not knowing I was right upstairs. Her voice echoed through the house, bouncing off the walls like a physical force. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The room seemed to spin as Henry's words sank in. My stomach lurched again, though there was nothing left to throw up. "You're lying," I managed to say, but my voice cracked, betraying my uncertainty. My throat was raw from vomiting, making my words come out hoarse and weak. Henry's smile widened, a predator sensing weakness. Am I? Ask her yourself. My mom's footsteps echoed on the stairs, each one like a hammer blow to my chest. The familiar rhythm of her gait, slightly heavier on the left foot from an old waitressing injury, now sounded sinister. She appeared in the doorway, her face flushed from the cold outside. Her cheeks were pink, her hair windblown. She looked like the mom I'd always known, but suddenly, she was a stranger. When she saw Henry on the floor, her hand flew to her mouth. "What happened?" she gasped, rushing to his side. Her eyes darted between us, calculating. I noticed she wasn't surprised to find him in my room. The smell of her familiar perfume, vanilla and something floral, now seemed cloying and suffocating. "He knows," Henry wheezed, laughed through gritted teeth, clutching his side where my boot had connected. About everything. My mom's expression shifted subtly. Fear, then resignation, then something harder. The transformation happened in seconds, like watching a mask slip into place. She helped Henry to his feet with practiced gentleness. "Let's go downstairs," she said quietly. "We should talk." In the living room, Henry eased himself onto the couch with a pained grunt. The leather cushions creaked under his weight. The family photos on the mantel seemed to mock me now, smiling faces hiding terrible secrets. My mom disappeared into the kitchen, returning moments later with a small orange bottle. The pills rattled inside as she shook out two and handed them to Henry with a glass of water. The domestic intimacy of the gesture made me sick. "How much do you know?" she finally asked, perching on the armrest beside Henry. Her fingers absently stroked his shoulder, a habit I'd seen countless times before, but now seemed sinister. "Everything," I said, my voice steadier now. "About Henry, about the videos, about the prison time." I pulled my neighbor Mrs. Patel's phone from my pocket. I'd borrowed it earlier that day when mine died during study group at her house. The device felt heavy in my hand, like it contained all the evidence of their crimes. "Your son sent me the court documents, the real ones." My mom's eyes narrowed at the unfamiliar phone. "Jason contacted you? That troubled boy has been trying to cause problems for years." The casual dismissal in her tone made my blood boil. The grandfather clock in the corner ticked loudly in the silence that followed, marking each second of this nightmare. "Troubled? He was 5 when his father, when your boyfriend, hurt him." My voice rose, echoing off the walls of our living room. The framed family photos seemed to stare back at me accusingly. Henry leaned forward despite his pain. "Those documents don't tell the whole story. I was set up by my ex-wife. She planted those videos, coached Jason." "Shut up!" I shouted, backing away as he tried to stand. The coffee table between us felt like an inadequate barrier. "I saw the evidence. I read the judge's comments. You made those videos yourself." My mom returned from the kitchen with 3 glasses of water on a tray. Her hands were steadier now, like she'd made a decision. The ice clinked against the glass as she set the tray down. She placed the tray on the coffee table and sat next to Henry, not me. The cushion dipped under her weight as she settled beside him, their shoulders touching in silent solidarity. "Honey," she said, her voice honey-sweet but her eyes cold. "You need to understand that the world isn't black and white. Troy, Henry, has paid for his mistakes." "Mistakes?" I echoed incredulously. "Is that what we're calling it now?" The word hung in the air between us, grotesquely inadequate. "Mom," I continued, trying to reach the woman who'd raised me. "Is it true? Did you know him before he came to live with us?" The family photos on the wall seemed to watch us, witnesses to this unraveling. She took a deep breath, exchanging a look with Henry. "Yes, we have. History." Her fingers twisted her wedding ring nervously, the diamond catching the light. "How much history?" I pressed, leaning forward in my chair. The wooden frame creaked under my weight. She sipped her water, buying time. A drop spilled onto her blouse, leaving a dark spot on the light fabric. "We dated in college, then reconnected a few times over the years, including when he was in prison." I pressed. Her silence was answer enough. I felt sick all over again. The sandwich I'd eaten earlier threatened to make a reappearance. So everything was a lie? You meeting at the grocery store? Him being this perfect stranger who just happened to be good with Mikey? The memory of how they'd told the story, bumping carts in the produce section, laughing over spilled apples, now seemed calculated and sinister. "Not everything was a lie," she insisted, her voice hardening. "Troy, Henry, has been good for this family. He's provided stability, financial support. He's a convicted pedophile," I shouted, standing up. The chair scraped loudly against the hardwood floor. "And you brought him into our home, near Mikey." At the mention of my brother's name, both of them tensed. Henry's hand moved to my mother's knee, squeezing it in warning. His knuckles whitened with the pressure. "Where is Mikey?" I demanded, sudden dread washing over me. The house felt too quiet, the absence of my brother's video game sounds or laughter suddenly conspicuous. "Tell me right now or I swear to God You'll what?" Henry challenged, standing up despite his injured ribs, wincing but determined. His shadow fell across me as he rose to his full height. "Call the police? And tell them what? That your mother's boyfriend has a past? That you assaulted him? Who do you think they'll believe? The stable adults with jobs and a mortgage? Or the violent teenager?" My mom stood too, placing herself between us. Her perfume wafted toward me, the scent I'd associated with comfort now turning my stomach. "Mikey is safe. He's with a friend of ours, just until we sort this out." "What friend? Where?" The panic in my voice was unmistakable. My heart hammered against my ribs like it wanted to escape. "That depends on you," Henry said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, "on whether you can be reasonable about this situation." The way he said reasonable made my skin crawl. I realized then that they were negotiating with me, using my brother as leverage. "I want to talk to him," I said, "right now, on the phone." My hands clenched into fists at my sides, fingernails digging into my palms. My mom hesitated, then nodded. "Fine." She pulled out her phone and dialed a number, putting it on speaker. The dial tone echoed in the tense silence of our living room. After 3 rings, a man's voice answered. "Hello?" The voice was gruff, unfamiliar. "Gerald, it's Diane. Is Mikey there? His brother wants to speak with him." My mom's voice was casual, as if this were a normal call on a normal day. There was a pause, then the sound of movement, fabric rustling, a door closing. "Hey," came Mikey's voice, small and uncertain. "Mikey!" I nearly shouted in relief. My voice echoed off the walls. Are you okay? Where are you? I'm at Uncle Gerald's cabin, he said. Mom said I'm having a special sleepover while you guys talk about grown-up stuff. His voice had that slight lisp from his missing front tooth, the one he'd lost just last week. Uncle Gerald? We didn't have an Uncle Gerald. I looked at my mom, who mouthed, "Friend," at me. Her eyes warned me not to say anything alarming. Are you okay? I asked again, trying to keep my voice steady. Has anyone hurt you? I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears, waiting for his answer. No, Mikey sounded confused. We're playing video games. Can I go back now? I could picture him, fidgeting impatiently, eager to return to whatever game had captured his attention. My mom took the phone off speaker. That's enough. He's fine, see? She ended the call before I could say anything else, her thumb pressing the red button with finality. I sank back onto the couch, my mind racing. The cushions seemed to swallow me as I processed what I'd heard. Mikey sounded okay, but who was this Gerald? Another friend, like Henry? The thought made my stomach turn. Now, my mom said, sitting across from me again, we need to discuss how we're going to move forward as a family. She smoothed her skirt over her knees, a gesture I'd seen 1,000 times before. There is no we, I spat. Not anymore, not after what I've learned. The words tasted bitter in my mouth. Henry leaned forward, his face a mask of sincerity that made my stomach turn. Listen, kid, I know what those court documents say. I know what Jason told you, but there are two sides to every story. His cologne, the same scent I'd once thought was so masculine and cool, now made me want to gag. I saw the videos, I reminded him, my voice shaking with rage. You saw snippets, taken out of context, edited to make me look guilty. His hands gestured as he spoke, the same hands I'd seen in those horrific images. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you seriously trying to claim you're innocent? After you were convicted? The clock on the wall ticked loudly, marking each second of this surreal conversation. My mom touched Henry's arm. Honey, maybe we should just tell him everything. Her wedding ring caught the light as she moved her hand. Henry hesitated, then nodded. Fine. Yes, I went to prison. Yes, there were inappropriate materials found on my computer, but I was set up by my ex-wife. She planted that stuff when she realized I was leaving her for your mother. His voice had a practiced quality, like he'd rehearsed this explanation many times. I stared at them in disbelief. You expect me to believe that? The family photos seemed to be watching us, silent witnesses to this unraveling. It's the truth, my mom insisted, leaning forward with desperate intensity. The couch creaked under her shifting weight. Henry and I had reconnected online. His marriage was already falling apart. When his wife found out about us, she went ballistic, planted evidence, coached their son to say terrible things. That's not what the court document said, I argued. They said there were videos you made, Henry. Home movies. The words felt dirty in my mouth. Henry's face darkened. Those weren't mine. They were planted. A vein pulsed in his forehead as he spoke. Something wasn't adding up. If you were innocent, why did you change your name? Why the whole charade of meeting my mom at the grocery store? The questions tumbled out, each one demanding an answer. My mom sighed. Because people don't understand. They hear ex-offender and immediately assume the worst. We wanted a fresh start, without prejudice, without neighbors treating us like pariahs. Her fingers twisted her wedding ring as she spoke. So you lied. To me, to everyone. The betrayal felt physical, like a weight pressing on my chest. We protected you, she corrected, her voice sharp, from ugly truths you weren't ready for. The clock ticked loudly in the silence that followed. I stood up again, unable to sit still. The floorboards creaked under my feet as I paced. I need proof. I need to see evidence that what you're saying is true. Henry and my mom exchanged looks again. We have copies of the appeal documents, my mom said finally, and character witness statements. They're in our safe. She smoothed her skirt again, a nervous habit. Show me, I demanded. The air felt thick with tension, hard to breathe. My mom nodded and left the room. Her footsteps echoed on the stairs as she went up to their bedroom. Henry stayed behind, watching me with those calculating eyes. The ticking of the clock filled the silence between us. Your mother loves me, he said quietly. She always has. Even when I was at my lowest, she believed in me. Can you say the same about anyone in your life? His words were designed to cut, to make me doubt myself. Before I could answer, my mom returned with a folder. The manila envelope was worn at the edges, clearly handled many times. She handed it to me, her expression unreadable. I opened it and began scanning the documents. They looked official. Court letterhead, case numbers, signatures. The paper felt smooth under my fingertips as I turned each page. The appeal claimed evidence tampering, witness coaching, and prosecutorial misconduct. According to these papers, Henry had been railroaded by a vindictive ex-wife and an overzealous district attorney, but something felt off. I flipped through the pages, reading more carefully. The dates didn't match what Jason had sent me. Some of the names were different too. The inconsistencies jumped out at me like red flags. These are fake, I said, looking up at them. You forged these. I dropped the folder, papers scattering across the coffee table and onto the floor. My mom's face fell. Why would you say that? Why can't you just accept? Because the dates are wrong. I threw the folder down, papers scattering across the floor. The sound of paper hitting hardwood punctuated my words. The judge's name is different from the original documents. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Henry's expression hardened. You're making a mistake, son. His jaw clenched, a muscle twitching in his cheek. I'm not your son, I snarled, and I'm done listening to your lies. I pulled out Mrs. Patel's phone. I'm calling the police. The device felt heavy in my hand, like it contained all the weight of what I was about to do. My mom lunged forward, trying to grab the phone, but I dodged her. Her perfume wafted toward me as she moved, that once comforting scent now sickening. Henry moved faster than I expected for someone with cracked ribs, adrenaline clearly dulling his pain as he blocked the doorway. His shadow fell across me as he stood there, menacing. "Think about what you're doing," he warned. "Think about Mikey." His voice was low, threatening. "I am thinking about Mikey. I'm trying to protect him from you." The words tore from my throat, raw with emotion. My mom's voice turned pleading. "Please, just listen. We can work this out. As a family." She reached for me, her hands, the hands that had bandaged my scrapes and wiped my tears, now seeming like a stranger's. "What family?" I shot back. "The one built on lies? On covering up child abuse?" Something in my mom's eyes changed then. The desperation gave way to something colder, more calculated. The transformation was chilling to witness. "You have no idea what I've sacrificed for this family, what I've done to keep us afloat. What are you talking about?" The question hung in the air between us. She straightened up, suddenly looking more like a stranger than my mother. "How do you think we afforded this house? Your school? Mikey's medical treatments when he was little? It wasn't from my waitressing job." Her voice was flat, emotionless. A chill ran down my spine. "What did you do?" The room seemed to grow colder with each passing second. Henry stepped forward, placing his hand on my mom's shoulder. "Your mother and I have been in business together for a long time, even when I was away." She kept things running smoothly. His fingers squeezed her shoulder possessively. "What business?" I asked, though part of me already knew the answer. The words felt like ash in my mouth. My mom's voice was flat. "There's a market for certain types of content. Henry had the technical skills. I had the connections." She said it like she was discussing a normal business partnership, not something monstrous. The room seemed to tilt beneath me. You helped him? With the videos?" The floor felt unsteady under my feet. She didn't answer directly. "I did what I had to do to provide for my children." Her eyes were cold, unrecognizable. "By exploiting other people's children?" I was shouting now, unable to control myself. The words echoed off the walls. "How could you? How could you be part of something so sick?" "It's not that simple," she snapped. "Nothing in life is. You think it was easy raising 2 kids on my own? You think I had choices?" Her voice rose to match mine, the facade of calm completely gone now. "Everyone has choices. You chose this. Him." I gestured at Henry, who stood like a sentinel beside her. Henry moved closer to my mom, protective. "Your mother is a survivor. She's pragmatic, unlike you, with your black and white morality." His arm circled her waist, a gesture that once seemed loving, but now looked possessive. I backed away from them, clutching Mrs. Patel's phone. "Stay away from me, both of you." The wall pressed against my back as I retreated. My mom's expression softened again, that manipulative switch I was beginning to recognize. "Honey, please, we're still your family. We can get past this." She stepped toward me, hand outstretched. "No," I said firmly. "We can't." I dialed 911, my finger hovering over the call button. "Tell me where Mikey is, the real location, not some lie about Uncle Gerald." Henry's eyes narrowed. "You won't do it. You won't tear your family apart." His confidence was infuriating. I pressed call. "Watch me." The phone began to ring, the sound seeming to fill the entire room. My mom lunged again, knocking the phone from my hand. It skittered across the floor, sliding under the coffee table. Henry moved to block me as I dove for it, but I was faster. I grabbed the phone just as the operator answered. The cool plastic was slick in my sweaty palm. 911. "What's your emergency?" The voice was calm, professional. "My name is—" I started, but Henry tackled me, ignoring the pain in his ribs, fueled by desperation. His weight knocked the breath from my lungs. His hand covered my mouth. The phone fell again, this time sliding under the couch. I could taste the salt of his palm against my lips. I fought against him, kicking and thrashing. My elbow connected with his injured ribs, making him grunt in pain. Despite his injuries, adrenaline made him strong, pinning me to the floor. The hardwood was cold against my back. My mom retrieved the phone. "Sorry, wrong number," she said calmly, then ended the call. Her voice was steady, practiced. Henry kept me pinned, his face inches from mine. I could smell his aftershave, the mint of his breath. "That was stupid," he hissed. "They'll call back," I managed to say through his grip. "They always call back on disconnected 911 calls. I'd learned that in health class last year." My mom's face paled. She looked at the phone as it began to ring. The ringtone seemed unnaturally loud in the tense silence. "What do we do?" she asked Henry, panic creeping into her voice. Henry thought for a moment. "Answer it. Say your son was playing with the phone. Apologize." His weight shifted on top of me as he spoke. She nodded and answered. "Hello? Yes. I'm so sorry about that. My teenage son was messing around." "Yes. Everything's fine." "No, that won't be necessary. Thank you for understanding." She hung up, relief washing over her face. "They're sending an officer for a welfare check anyway. Standard procedure when someone starts to identify themselves." Henry cursed, momentarily loosening his grip. I seized the opportunity, bringing my knee up hard, catching him in his already injured ribs. He howled in pain, rolling off me. The sound was satisfying after everything I'd learned. I scrambled to my feet and ran for the door, my socks sliding on the hardwood. The front door seemed miles away, though it was just across the living room. But my mom blocked my path. "Stop this!" she commanded. Where do you think you're going to go? Her body was a barrier between me and freedom. Away from you, I spat. Far away from both of you. The words tasted like freedom. And Mikey? You'd abandon your brother? That stopped me cold. The thought of leaving him behind was unbearable. Tell me where he is. The truth, I demanded, my voice steadier than I felt. She hesitated, then sighed. He's at a motel off Highway 16, with Gerald Fisk, an associate of ours. Her shoulders slumped slightly, as if sharing this information was a physical burden. An associate? You mean another pedophile? The word felt dirty in my mouth. Gerald is just watching him, she insisted, keeping him safe while we deal with this situation. Her hands gestured as she spoke, wedding ring catching the light. Which motel? What room? I pressed, stepping closer. The Pinewood Inn, room 112. But you can't just... I didn't wait to hear the rest. I shoved past her and ran out the door. The cold air hit my face like a slap as I burst outside. I could hear Henry struggling to his feet behind me, cursing through the pain. His voice faded as I sprinted down the street. Outside, I sprinted down the street, not sure where I was going. The Pinewood Inn was at least 5 miles away. I needed transportation. My lungs burned with each breath of cold air. My socks were already soaked through from the damp sidewalk. As if answering my prayers, I spotted Mr. Wilson from across the street backing his car out of his driveway. His old blue Buick gleamed under the streetlights. I'd mowed his lawn last summer when his arthritis was acting up. I ran over, waving frantically. Mr. Wilson, I need help. It's an emergency. My voice cracked with desperation. He rolled down his window, concern etched on his weathered face. The smell of peppermint and tobacco wafted from the car. What's wrong, son? My brother's in trouble, I gasped. I need to get to the Pinewood Inn right away. Please. My chest heaved as I tried to catch my breath. He studied my face for a moment. That's the old motel by the highway? Not a good place for a kid. Get in. I'll drive you. He unlocked the passenger door with a click. As we pulled away, I saw my mom and Henry emerge from our house. The porch light illuminated their figures as they stood in the doorway. Henry was pointing at Mr. Wilson's car, shouting something I couldn't hear. His face was contorted with rage. Friends of yours? Mr. Wilson asked, noticing them in his rearview mirror. The car smelled of old leather and mint candies. No, I said firmly. Not anymore. The word felt final, a door closing on that chapter of my life. During the drive, I tried to think of what to do next. I couldn't just grab Mikey and run. We'd need somewhere to go, evidence to show the police. The streetlights flashed by in a rhythmic pattern, casting alternating light and shadow across my face. Mr. Wilson, I said, can I borrow your phone? Mine's not with me. My own phone was still on my desk at home, surrounded by textbooks and study notes from a life that now seemed very far away. He handed me his smartphone without question. Everything okay at home, son? You seem scared. His eyes remained fixed on the road, but I could hear the concern in his voice. I hesitated, then decided he deserved some explanation. My mom's boyfriend. He's not who he pretends to be. He's dangerous. He has a record for hurting kids. The words felt inadequate to describe the horror I'd discovered. Mr. Wilson's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. And your brother's with him? The car accelerated slightly as his foot pressed harder on the gas. With one of his friends, I need to get Mikey away from them. The urgency in my voice was unmistakable. He nodded grimly. I always thought something was off about that man. The way he watched the neighborhood children. His voice trailed off, but his meaning was clear. I immediately pulled up Facebook and searched for Jason. Finding him, I sent a message explaining where I was going and what had happened. My fingers flew across the screen, typing frantically. I asked him to contact the police in our town, to tell them everything he knew about Henry. As we approached the Pinewood Inn, my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst from my chest. The motel was run down, the kind of place that rented rooms by the hour. The neon sign flickered erratically. Some letters burned out completely. Trash littered the parking lot, and several of the windows had curtains that didn't quite close. Wait here, I told Mr. Wilson. I'll be right back with my brother. The car's heater had fogged the windows slightly, giving the motel an even more sinister appearance through the glass. Should I call someone? He asked, clearly concerned by the state of the motel. His weathered hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. Yes, I decided. Call the police. Tell them there's a registered SX offender named Henry Barnes, also known as Troy Barnes, at this motel with a child. The words tumbled out quickly. Mr. Wilson's eyes widened, but he nodded, already dialing as I got out of the car. The cold air hit me again as I stepped onto the cracked asphalt of the parking lot. I approached room 112, my legs feeling like lead. What would I find inside? Was Mikey really okay? Or had that phone call been staged somehow? The metal numbers on the door were tarnished, the one hanging slightly crooked. I knocked on the door, trying to sound casual. Room service. My heart hammered so loudly, I was sure they could hear it through the door. We didn't order anything, came a gruff voice from inside. I could hear a TV playing in the background, cartoon sounds. Complimentary towels, I improvised. Management said to deliver them to all rooms. I shifted my weight nervously from foot to foot. There was a pause, then the sound of the chain being removed. The metal links clinked against the door. The door opened a crack, and a heavy-set man with thinning hair peered out. His t-shirt was stained, and he smelled of cigarettes. We don't need, he began, but I shoved the door hard, catching him off guard. He stumbled backward as I burst into the room. The door banged against the wall, the sound echoing in the small space. "Mikey!" I called out. The room smelled of stale cigarettes and fast food. My brother was sitting on one of the twin beds, a handheld game console in his hands. The blue light from the screen illuminated his face in the dim room. He looked up, surprised but unharmed. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice small and confused. The man, Gerald I presumed, had regained his balance and was advancing toward me. His heavy footsteps made the thin carpet compress. "You need to leave. Now." "I'm taking my brother," I said, moving toward Mikey. The bed creaked as I sat beside him. "Come on, buddy. We're going." Mikey looked confused. "But Mom said—" "Mom lied." I cut him off. "We need to go. Right now." I tried to keep my voice gentle despite the urgency. Gerald reached for something in his waistband. I caught a glimpse of metal and reacted instinctively. I lunged at him, tackling him to the floor. The impact knocked the wind from both of us. We wrestled briefly, his bulk making him stronger, but my youth making me faster. The carpet burned against my arms as we struggled. I managed to knock what turned out to be a pocket knife from his hand, sending it skittering under the bed. The metal glinted in the dim light as it disappeared beneath the dusty bedskirt. "Mikey, grab your stuff. We're leaving." My voice was strained from the effort of holding Gerald down. My brother hesitated, then stuffed his game into his backpack and slipped on his shoes. The Velcro made a ripping sound as he fastened them. Gerald struggled beneath me, his breath coming in ragged gasps. "You don't know what you're doing, kid. Your mom and Henry will—" His face was red with exertion. "Will what?" I demanded, tightening my grip on his wrists. The bones felt fragile under my fingers. He smirked despite his position. "They'll find you. They always do. This isn't their first problem, child." His words sent a chill down my spine. A chill ran down my spine, but I pushed it aside. "Let's go, Mikey." I released Gerald and backed toward the door, keeping myself between him and my brother. Mikey's small hand found mine, his palms sweaty with fear. As soon as we were outside, I slammed the door and grabbed Mikey's hand, running toward Mr. Wilson's car. The night air was cold against my face. Gerald burst out of the room behind us, shouting, but he stopped short when he saw the police cruiser pulling into the parking lot, lights flashing. The blue and red lights painted the motel in alternating colors. Mr. Wilson waved us over. "The police are here. Hurry." His car door was already open, waiting for us. We piled into his back seat just as two officers approached Gerald. I could see him gesturing wildly, probably spinning some story about us. His face was animated, hands moving frantically as he spoke to the officers. "Drive," I urged Mr. Wilson. "Please, just drive." The leather seat was cold beneath me. He looked uncertain. "Shouldn't we talk to the police?" His eyes darted between us and the officers. "Not here," I said. "It's not safe. We need to go to the station directly." The desperation in my voice must have convinced him. He nodded and pulled out of the parking lot, the police cruiser now blocked by Gerald's continued ranting. The tires crunched over gravel as we pulled onto the main road. In the back seat, Mikey looked at me with wide eyes. "What's going on? Where's Mom?" His small face was pale in the darkness of the car. I took a deep breath. How could I explain this to a 9-year-old? The streetlights passed overhead in a rhythmic pattern, briefly illuminating his confused expression. "Mom and Troy, they've been lying to us about a lot of things. Troy isn't who we thought he was." I chose my words carefully, not wanting to scare him more than necessary. "Is he a bad guy?" Mikey asked, his voice small. His hand found mine again, seeking reassurance. "Yes," I said simply. "He's a very bad guy, and we need to stay away from him." The car heater hummed softly in the background. "And Mom?" His voice cracked on the word, betraying his fear. My heart broke at the question. "Mom made some bad choices. She's been helping Troy do bad things." I squeezed his hand gently. Mikey's eyes filled with tears. "But she's our mom." The streetlights caught the moisture on his cheeks. "I know, buddy." I pulled him close. "I know." His small body trembled against mine as he began to cry. Mr. Wilson drove us to the police station downtown. The building was well lit, a beacon of safety in the night. As we pulled into the parking lot, I spotted a familiar face waiting outside. Jason, my half-brother. Somehow, he'd gotten here already. He stood under the harsh fluorescent lights, hands in his pockets. He approached the car as we got out, his eyes moving from me to Mikey. I could see the family resemblance now. The same jawline, the same set of the eyes. "You must be the brothers," he said. I nodded. "How did you get here so fast?" The night air was cold after the warmth of the car. "I live 2 towns over," he explained. "Been keeping tabs on Henry ever since he got out. When I got your message, I came right away." His voice was deeper than mine, his face more weathered despite our similar ages. Mr. Wilson looked between us, confused. "Should I stay?" The car's engine ticked as it cooled. "Yes, please," I said. "We might need a ride later." The police station loomed before us, intimidating but necessary. Inside the station, we were directed to a detective named Samantha Wood. She had kind eyes but a no-nonsense demeanor. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows on her face as she listened carefully as I explained everything. The Facebook message from Jason, the court documents, my confrontation with Henry and my mom, and the rescue of Mikey from the motel. "These are serious allegations," Detective Wood said when I finished, "especially against your mother." Her pen tapped against her notepad rhythmically. "I know," I said quietly, "but they're true." She admitted it to me. The hard plastic chair was uncomfortable beneath me. Jason spoke up. "I have copies of all the original court documents from my father's case, and statements from other victims who came forward after his his conviction. His voice was steady, practiced, like he'd been preparing for this moment for years. Detective Wood nodded. That will help. But we'll need more to build a case against your mother, especially if she's claiming ignorance of his past. She made another note on her pad. I remembered something then. They're safe. At home. My mom said they keep documents there. Maybe there's evidence. The memory of my mother retrieving the forged papers flashed in my mind. We can get a search warrant, Detective Wood said, but it will take time. Her computer hummed softly on her desk. What about Mikey? I asked. He can't go back there. My brother sat beside me, unusually quiet, his small hand still in mine. Detective Wood glanced at my brother, who was sitting quietly in a chair, looking overwhelmed. His sneakers barely reached the floor. We'll need to place him with Child Protective Services temporarily. No, I said firmly. He stays with me. The thought of being separated from him was unbearable. You're not 18 yet, she reminded me gently. You can't be his guardian. Her voice was kind but firm. What about my grandparents? I suggested. My mom's parents. They live in Florida, but they'd take us in. Hope flickered briefly. Detective Wood considered this. We can contact them. If they're willing and pass a background check, that might work. She made another note. As we discussed options, the station door burst open. My mom stormed in, Henry right behind her. The glass door banged against the wall with the force of her entry. They spotted us immediately. There they are! My mom shouted, pointing. My sons! They've been kidnapped! Her voice echoed in the station lobby. Officers moved to intercept them, but my mom pushed through. Those men took my children. That one, she pointed at Jason, has been harassing my family for weeks. Her finger jabbed accusingly in his direction. Detective Wood stepped forward. Ma'am, please calm down. Your sons are safe. Her voice was authoritative, cutting through my mother's hysteria. They're not safe with him, she insisted, glaring at Jason. He's unstable, obsessed with my husband. Her makeup was smeared, her hair disheveled. Henry placed a hand on her shoulder, playing the concerned stepfather perfectly. Please, we just want our boys back. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. His voice was smooth, reasonable. I stood up, facing them across the room. Tell them, Mom. Tell them who Henry really is. Tell them about your business. My voice carried in the quiet station. My mom's eyes narrowed. My son is confused. He's been manipulated by this man. She gestured at Jason. He's filling his head with lies about my husband. Her voice rose with each word. Detective Wood looked between us, her expression neutral. Mr. Barnes, is it? Or do you prefer Henry Faulkner? The question hung in the air. Henry's face went blank for a split second before he recovered. I don't know what you're talking about. My name is Troy Barnes, but his voice lacked conviction. Interesting, Detective Wood said, because we just ran your fingerprints from the glass you were drinking from at your home. They match those of Henry Faulkner, convicted in 2010 for production and distribution of child pornography. Her voice was calm, matter of fact. My mom's composure cracked. That's impossible. There must be some mistake. Her hands fluttered nervously at her throat. No mistake, Mrs. Barnes. Or should I say, accomplice. Detective Wood nodded to two officers, who moved forward with handcuffs. The metal clinked ominously as they approached. Henry Faulkner, you're under arrest for violation of SX offender registration requirements and fraud. Diane Barnes, you're under arrest for harboring a fugitive and endangering the welfare of children. Detective Wood's voice was firm, official. As the officers read them their rights, my mom's eyes found mine. There was no love there anymore, just cold fury. You'll regret this, she mouthed silently. The words were clear, despite the lack of sound. I watched as they were led away, feeling nothing but a hollow emptiness where my family used to be. The handcuffs gleamed under the fluorescent lights as they disappeared down the hallway. Detective Wood turned to us. We have a lot more to discuss, and you boys have some difficult days ahead. Her voice softened slightly. Jason placed a hand on my shoulder. You did the right thing. It took me years to find the courage to reach out to you. You acted immediately to protect your brother. His hand was warm, steadying. I looked at Mikey, who was watching the door where our mom had disappeared, tears streaming down his face. His small shoulders shook with silent sobs. It doesn't feel like the right thing, I admitted. It feels like I destroyed our family. Henry destroyed your family, Jason corrected me. Your mom helped him. You just exposed the truth. His words were gentle but firm. As we sat in the police station, waiting for our grandparents to be contacted, I wondered what would happen next. How would we rebuild our lives after this? How would Mikey recover from the betrayal of the person who was supposed to protect him above all others? The questions swirled in my mind, unanswerable for now. I didn't have answers yet, but for the first time since reading those court documents, I felt like we might eventually be okay. The truth was out. Henry couldn't hurt anyone else. And maybe, just maybe, my mom would face the consequences of her choices. Mr. Wilson approached, offering to take us for dinner while we waited. You boys must be hungry. His kind face was a welcome sight after everything we'd been through. I nodded gratefully, taking Mikey's hand. His small fingers curled around mine trustingly. As we walked out of the station, I glanced back at Jason. Thank you, I said, for warning me, for helping us. The words felt inadequate for what he'd done. He smiled sadly. That's what brothers do. Brothers. The word felt strange but right. In the midst of losing the family I thought I had, perhaps I'd found a new one. One built on truth instead of lies.